All right, it's 9 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Notes. If you have your cell phones, please mute it for the meeting. And Becky, can you do roll call, please?
I sure will. Jack Scroxton,
Here.
Allie Hess,
Here.
Dean Friel,
Here.
Katie White, Ron Gascoigne, Reed Acree.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any public attendees? The only one I see in the public is Greg, and Greg has given us another report and plus nice little fancy annual report in a document. But Greg, you want to walk through what you got for us at least?
Yes, thank you, Jack.
Yep.
What we've been trying to do the past couple of calendar years is give a retrospective look back at that 12-month period. And what you have in your hands is actually hot off the press. You guys are the first ones to receive this. And so basically, it's an overview of accomplishments while also looking forward to the current, current calendar year of 25. So this is a reflection back on 24 calendar year. It's not tied to the fiscal, but it is looking at both the revenue, the expense side in terms of the financial picture, but also at the operational piece. And I would just, entertain the conversation of having a look at this. And if you have follow-up questions, I can easily touch on those either now or in the future at another meeting. On the backside is a quick synopsis in terms of rides, service hours, and service miles during that 12-month period. So 92,526 rides, service hours 43,330, and service miles 830,398. And this may or may not be surprising to this group, but the top 3 ride destinations is for either medical appointments, school, or employment in the workplace. So if there's any questions, I sort of caught you off guard on that one. You probably weren't expecting this report this morning, but if there's questions about that or the report that I also presented as the regular monthly report, I can also take those questions. But I am happy to say that we are coming up on the closure of the first 12-month period of Reagan Mass Transit District, which is exciting. I do appreciate the County Services Committee as well as the Lee County Board's support of our operation during the initial 12-month period and also during that transition period as well. So I think that cannot be underscored enough. But if there's any questions on either report, I'm here to take those questions.
I don't necessarily have a question on the report. I just know that the Illinois recently is trying to pass a budget, which included an increase in the mass transit. Does that help you guys out? Does that come to you as well? Or is that just more Chicago area?
That's a great question, Jack. As much as possible, if we can get advocates to support that type of legislation, we are not untied from that legislation, which does pull in Chicago, the big 3 in there. And there's legislation, I think, that did not make it through the entire General Assembly and that I hear may still be forthcoming in the coming weeks. But effectively, rural and small urban were attached to that legislation. And like I said, it did not make its way completely through because of some of the content in that legislation. We are still advocating at the state level for some modifications as to how rural transit is actually funded. You'll hear some things in terms of the local match piece sort of in play currently with the Downstate Operating Assistance Program, or DOPE as we affectionately call it. There's a 65-35 funding mix. So 65% comes from the state through some funding taxes. And then the 35% is the responsibility of the rural transit operation to actually find to fill that funding gap. They're talking about modifying that to more of an 80-20 type of split instead. So that would be beneficial and help out a lot of rural transit here in the state. And then there's also some potential modifications to potentially increase the funding to rural as well as small urban operations, in addition to what they're proposing for Chicago Transit. So As much as possible, we'll try to keep you updated as to where that's going. Obviously, there's a lot of things in play when it comes to that type of legislation in Springfield.
Yes. Any other questions for Greg? Thank you, Greg, as always.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move into the approval of the minutes. Everyone's had a chance to look at those. If there's no changes or corrections to the minutes from the May 13th meeting, they will stand as presented. Any? No, nope. Okay, all right. So let's move on. So they stand as presented then. Okay, so Dave Anderson, Transportation Solid Waste. Do you have any action items this month, or just like to highlight the committee with your report?
No action items. I'll give you a few highlights. We've knocked off a few projects over the month, mostly township hot mix jobs, and then we got a start on the Perry Road Golden Place recycling job. That's been recycled. It was recycled last week. Now it's just kind of a waiting game. You got to wait till the moistures get to the right levels before you can put the hot mix overlay over it. So that project's well underway. Had a pre-con yesterday for the bridge on Brooklyn Road, just north of 30. And they expect to, the contractor expects to start June 17th. So that'll be coming up pretty quick on us as well. Just a couple other things I'd like to highlight, just some additional funding that's been out there and where that stands. IDOT put out a call for projects on $400 million. They call it the Local Project Funding Program. So there was $400 million statewide for local projects. So I went into a portal there and submitted about 5 different projects, totaled, I don't know, a little over $5 million. And I don't know, I kind of felt good about that, but I had a meeting with IDOT on an unrelated issue yesterday and kind of heard that the project submittals were in, and the asks, the projects that were submitted were probably 10 times the amount of funding available. So that kind of deflated my balloon just a little bit in terms of hopes of getting one of those. So we'll see how that turns around. On a little brighter side, IDOT also had a off-system bridge bundling program. I don't know, it was probably about in February. They put up a site, and you would go into, again, a kind of a portal there, and I don't know, there was probably 30 or 40 bridges identified in Lee County that were potentials for that program. So you go in and you click on all those bridges, you fill out a little information about them. Anyway, the result is that at least initially, we've got 4 projects on that list, and IDOT's taking care of everything from design to construction on those. I'm on the liaison committee for Illinois Association of County Engineers. We met with Secretary of Transportation and some of her staff about a week and a half ago. Kind of asked the question where that stood in terms of timelines on that. And they weren't real committal on that, but they figured that the project delivery was probably at least 2 years away. But you know what? That's fine. There's 4 bridges on there. All of those may or may not stand, but as they go through the whole process. But it was good news that, you know, there's about $3 million worth of bridges there. So it was a good deal. So no complaints. Let's see. Oh, wanted to mention that next month you'll be seeing, you'll be approving bids on our drop-off recycling program. There's a 3-year contract that we have that's coming due in September. So we're going to get that bid out and get a contractor on board for that. So we've got time to get the contract together and all that before September 1. So probably see that next month. In addition to another township bridge, we're going to try and let one out, see if we can squeak that in, the construction in before winter. But we're going to give that a shot. So it'll be coming up next month. Only other thing to note is we did get our mechanic hired. He started yesterday, and kind of a shout out to Susan. She came down. Glad she came down. She was down at our place at 7 o'clock and kind of efficiently got that guy onboarded. So we appreciated that.
It's kind of nice that she will travel as far as to that part
Yeah,
of the county to
Yep.
take care of that.
all the way to Amboy, 7
That's right.
a.m.
That's right.
Got it all handled. So
Right.
we were happy for that.
She's not here today, so, but, hopefully she'll listen back at this and hear our thank yous. So, all right. All right. Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave? All right. Jennifer, I see you're here. You got something to share with us for, in the, assessor's office?
Good morning. I did not turn in a report this month, but our month in the assessment office is pretty much summed up with the fact that tax bills are out. So we've been very busy with the public questions on their tax bills. It also increases the exemptions process. Some people just prefer to turn in their exemptions when they come to pay their tax bills. Other people missed their exemptions on their tax bill, and we can do corrections to get them back on there. So it's been just very busy in our office with the fact that the tax bills are out. I do want to mention to Tom Kitson, thank you very much for mentioning at the county board last month to the public, you know, to please take a breath and be respectful when you contact the treasurer's office and our office. We're really just doing our jobs following the state statute and guidelines to produce these tax bills. And like he pointed out, Lee County is not keeping very much of that money. The treasurer's office job is just to collect the money. The assessment's office job is just to assess market value of properties. We're not producing a tax bill. So just if people could be respectful, I know that the tax bills have been higher and it has caused stress, but we appreciate that and we appreciate Tom mentioning that last month. So anyone have it? Oh, and I do have, does anyone have any questions on the assessment side?
I was just going to ask,
I can't see.
did a lot of did you share with the people, like say the taxes went up for for the local school, stuff like that? Do you have a phone number that you can give them? Or, you know, that, hey, you know, we're responsible for, the county's responsible for this, but, you know, here, you know, you can make your complaint to these particular
Yeah.
places. So
I don't know that we have direct phone numbers for each taxing district on
I know,
hand, but yeah.
I guess that's just my thought
Right.
process too. A lot of
Right.
times is, you know, it's kind of bold in my opinion, but. you know,
Right. We really do try to walk through, and I mean,
Sure.
each individual
I
circumstance.
think that's important as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
each individual circumstance is different. We try to focus on, you know, our office wants to get on at a fair market value, and that's
Right.
what that number is. And this is where your money is going, to these taxing districts. So you absolutely can reach out to the taxing districts.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, that, you know, to educate our constituents as well. so,
Right,
On
right.
on that topic. So any other
Yeah.
questions for Jennifer on the assessing? I see Sammy's got one, so you're going to go over Sammy's?
Sammy's not able to be here today, but he did turn in a report. A lot of the things on his report are some of their monthly responsibilities. But I will touch base on, he mentioned that our 2025 Change Finder layer has been added to Eagle View Connect Explorer. That's something we fly, aerial flight once every 3 years. And, my mind just went blank for a second. Yes, 3 years. So the flights have been flown, and the GIS office has gotten those layers uploaded to all of the different mapping platforms, so you can see the new aerial photography. The Change Finder makes it possible to compare the new photography to the last year's photography. So that's something that's very helpful in the assessment office when we're doing our review process, but it's also something that the other offices and the public can use also. So we're excited to get that done. And then something else exciting in the GIS office that I believe was stemmed from communication from the zoning office is that contour lines were added to the zoning map layer, and that's going to help assist the health department in issuing septic permits more efficiently. So that was a communication that I believe started through Alice, because I was gone that week, started through Alice and Sammy, and they got that taken care of quickly, I believe, and got those contour lines up. So that will help out the health department with their septic permits. So that's some kind of a couple highlights of the GIS world this last month.
I just want to comment that who would have thought that having a map of Lee County was important to the citizens of, I use it almost 2 or 3 times a week. So, but yeah, it's that GIS, every time we can use something more for it, and having it for that is perfect. So any
Absolutely.
other questions for there? Okay, all right, let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Jeremy, County Board, you have something you'd like to share with us?
A quick update on BEAD, which is our broadband program that we're working with the state. There was an issuance last month. I did report that, with the changes from the federal level, we're just still trying to figure out how that's going to affect the funding locally here. And so the National Telecommunications and Information Administration did issue a restructure on their policy. And so right now, the state is looking at that and seeing how that's going to change the local funding projects that they have been working with for the last couple of waves, is what they're calling them. And we're still trying to get some understanding of what that looks like. Again, we've had at least 8 different internet service providers that were interested in working within Lee County and to procure that funding and to bring high, speed internet access to individuals that currently do not have that. So we're still looking, hoping for optimism there and trying to make, work with the state of Illinois, these internet service providers the best we can to continue to understand what the changes are going to be, what that impact is, and hopefully we can still move some of these projects forward. I know Dave with, through his office have been still getting quite a bit of permits for new fiber access and trenching throughout the county. Most of those are not tied to BEAD programs at this point, but it's still good to know that we're still growing and with that capacity, but it's not to the scale that we're looking for yet. Another grant that we're working on, and this is really affecting the Building and Zoning Office. We did get some good feedback from actually Kevin Lally, who's soon to be retiring as our EMA director. Our BRIC grant that we won last year for our code establishment program that we had built out through FEMA, that funding was pulled back. The state does have some funding set aside for hazard mitigation planning grants. We think it's going to be a lateral grant that we could move that program over to the state program, and we're working with IEMA for that currently. So that's exciting, and hopefully that program we're gonna do it regardless, to some way, shape, or form, but to get that funding option and the resources to jumpstart, it's really going to be helpful. So we're pretty hopeful for that as well. Any questions? And Joe, have you guys not met Joe?
I've met Joe,
Okay.
but I think we should welcome here.
Yeah,
publicly.
sure. Joe Bay, if you want to, stand, take a bow. Joe Bay is officially on board as the Lee County building official, kind of getting in seamlessly with Alice and that department, still working out the transition a little bit between splitting the operation a
Sure.
tad, but he's been.
I didn't see a
been great to
report
work
from
with.
him yet here, so.
The reports for him are going to the facilities and maintenance.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be here for that as
Yeah,
well, so.
there you go.
Good.
So, yep.
I mean, that makes total sense, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Any questions?
Any questions for Jeremy? All right. Next, Nancy, you want to walk us through your report?
Sure. Good morning. Just a couple of highlights off of my report that you see there in onboard. Just get ready, around August 5th is when you're going to be able to start pulling petitions if you're going to be on the ballot for next year. So that's coming up extremely fast. And then just to go off of what Jen was saying with tax bills, that also does increase the traffic in our office also, because people are completely unaware that they had delinquent taxes. So I don't know if you've ever seen that over on the right-hand column of your tax bill. There's a big sold there, so that increases traffic in our office also. So it's a busy time. And that's really all I have. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, no questions there. Chris is not here for ROE, but he did include his report. Paul is not here as well. No report from Paul from IT. Veterans Assistance, their report is in your packet. It'll be made available to the public as quick as we can. Then we go right down to zoning. Alice, you want to walk us through your report and then the action items that you have?
Sure. Good morning. So far this, let me pull up my report here real quick. So actions coming from the zoning hearing officer this month are none. Last month, we did have a petition go to the zoning hearing officer. That petition does have to first go through the village of Sublette, so we will hear that on July 3rd. Action items coming from the zoning or going to the zoning hearing officer is petition number 25P1647 by Donald and Annette Early. They are seeking a map amendment for their parcel that is located at 602 River Lane in Dixon. They are seeking to go from an R2 single-family residential district to the Ag 1 rural agricultural district. Actions coming from the Planning Commission are none. Actions going to the Planning Commission are none. And under other actions, I have a petition for amending a special use permit. This is a new code. You guys just adopted this last month. So I wanted to kind of take it slow, this first one, to make sure everyone understands what is going on, what my duties are as a zoning administrator, and so how we'll be reviewing these going forward. The petition I received was a petition for amending the special use permit. One Energy Development LLC has filed a petition seeking to amend their special use permit as follows. They would like to extend the duration of the permit to the date that is 35 years following the commercial operation date of the project to better align with existing leases with the landowner. And two, recognize Agalena Solar Illinois 2 LLC as the owner of the project. So for the first, we'll break it down into two amendments. The first amendment regarding the 35 years. When the special use permit was granted under resolution number 11-22-001, the following condition was established. Project duration. The total term, including all decommissioning requirements for the said special use, be limited to not more than 35 years beginning on the date of the petition's approval by the Lee County Board. So what the company is wanting to do is, as of right now, their landowner lease does not align with our time limits. So for their project, their clock doesn't start ticking until the commercial operation date. So the date the project goes into operation. The way this condition was written, the clock has already started ticking, and this company has almost lost 3 years in the meantime while they're still working towards their building permit. So what has happened is that they're going to not be able to meet the terms of their lease because of the condition that was applied to their petition. They are not seeking anything beyond the 35 years. They understand that that is the limit set by the board, and they have no issue with that. All they are asking is that the clock start ticking as of the commercial operation date instead of the date that the resolution was approved by the county board. So under the code, how it is written, I, as the zoning administrator, first must determine whether these amendments are a major amendment or a minor amendment. So a major amendment is something that is going to have an impact to the public. We anticipate it, the public to either see it, feel it somehow, they're going to be impacted by a major amendment. A minor amendment is something that is smaller and usually inconsequential to the public, and therefore could be done administratively. So when reviewing their petition, I first must consider, are these major amendments or are these minor amendments? So it is my opinion that to align these dates with their lease and the commercial operation date, I would feel that that's a minor amendment. The project isn't going to be able to last any longer. The public should not see any impacts from this. We are just trying to align things from a business perspective. So it would be my opinion that this is a minor amendment and should be handled administratively. So and this is what I need your direction on, whether you guys agree or disagree. So if that is the case, I then look to the code, and on the third page, I gave you these handouts. Under paragraph G, it spells out the standards for approval that must be considered when these amendments come forward. So if I'm handling this one administratively, I then review these 5 standards and write a determination based off of these. So consistency with the comprehensive plan. Pursuant to Illinois Public Act 102-1123, which was signed into law on January 27, 2023, the state has deemed that solar energy systems can be placed on any land on which agricultural uses take place. Therefore, the proposed development is consistent with the objective and goals set forth in the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. As the proposed amendment does not change the use, there would be no impact on the comprehensive plan. The next thing I must consider would be the compatibility with adjacent uses, zoning districts, and the character of surrounding areas. Since the proposed amendment does not physically alter the project, I feel that there would be no additional effect to the adjacent uses, zoning districts, and/or the character of the surrounding areas. Next is the impact on public services. It would be my determination that the proposed amendment will not have any impact on public services, as the project as a whole has limited impact on public services. The main impact is going to be to roads, and there will be a road use agreement in place to protect those. Public health, safety, and welfare. Again, the petitioner does not seek to physically alter the project, and the proposed amendment does not create any additional effects on public health, safety, and welfare. Lastly is compliance with the existing conditions. The amendment would amend the condition, but not the intent of the condition. The intent of the ZBA was to limit the life of the project, including decommissioning, to 35 years. By amending the condition, the time limit for the project will still exist. However, the hypothetical clock will begin ticking once the project is operational. By amending the condition, the petitioner will be able to meet the terms of their lease and the requirements set forth by the county. So in reviewing these standards of approval, it would be my determination that the condition should be amended as follows. Project duration. The total term, including all decommissioning requirements for said special use, is limited to not more than 35 years, beginning on the commercial operation date. So for the second amendment, they are requesting that the project name be recognized as Agalena Solar IL2 LLC. Currently, the project name is One Energy Development, and they would not have to file an amendment to change the project name. They just have to send notice to my office of that change. But specifically speaking to this, One Energy is not selling to Agalinas. Agalinas is a child corporation to the parent corporation, which is One Energy Development. So with that being said, I guess I am looking to you guys for direction as to whether you agree or disagree with how I would handle these. I do anticipate seeing a couple more of these come through that are seeking to align their time limit with their leases, because we do have a couple of projects that the ZBA and ultimately the county board did approve time limits for. So I just want to make sure that the committee is comfortable with the actions that I'm taking, that they agree with the actions that I'm taking. And if not, then we need to change the ordinance and get it corrected sooner than later. Does anyone have any?
Microphone. Read, please. Thank you.
I guess from that period, from implementation till operation, like say for, you talked about the roads being covered under it. Is that a special permit then just for that period up until operation, or how does that work to make sure that everything is covered until operation?
So nothing really goes into effect until they pull a building permit. So at the time of the building permit, they'll have to have the road use agreement. So that will cover their construction, decommissioning, and any remediation once the project is gone. So that will be for the life of the project. And we'll have that in place before we'll issue a building permit. We have several things like that they must provide to us prior to the issuance of a building permit. And that's our protections, is you can't have your building permit until we get everything that we need.
Okay.
On the petition, there's 3 things listed. The first one being that requiring that the substantial, so are they asking for an extension or on the determination of, majorly underway, or?
I
that
apologize.
one in
They
there?
did file an amended petition.
Okay.
And they removed,
They removed the substantial determination with the
Yes.
date?
yes. Their project was, their special use permit was granted on November 22nd, 2022.
Okay.
They have 3 years to pull a building permit. Otherwise, the special use permit expires. Our ordinance already has a procedure set out for how they would proceed at that time. So I said this would not be handled under this petition. They did amend and they removed that.
Okay.
We do anticipate that they'll have a building permit prior to the expiration of the 3 years.
All right. Personally, if we can handle this internally, I think it saves a lot of time and money, obviously. Charlie, do you have any issue with her taking this on, or this being quoted unquote, a minimal standard or a minor change?
No, I think as she's discussing right now, this is going to be a policy decision for the county board to decide what parameters you want to have in place for the minor or major amendments. And if that's appropriate for you, it's fine by me.
Okay. All right. Well, we currently have it on the agenda. Obviously, I can't take a vote until we put a motion on there, but are we, well?
I
What's
guess
that?
You want a motion to determine the?
Well, how about
facts
this?
laid out.
When it comes to that, we'll ask for a motion to move the petition to the executive committee. And if nobody firsts it or seconds it, then it dies. Then obviously Alice will handle it. Are we comfortable with doing that? So if it dies of a motion, because it's on the agenda. So if it dies on it, without having to ask you all to give me what your thoughts are, if it dies on it, Alice will handle it internally.
Okay.
So that's how we'll handle that. Okay? Okay, so I guess we'll have our answer there here in a second. But let's take care of the petition 25P 1647. So is there a motion to move petition 25P 1647, which is the other one, to the executive committee for inclusion on the county board agenda? First by Dean Frio, seconded by Ali Huss. Is there any discussion on that particular one? No discussion. All those in favor signify saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now this is, the next petition is whether or not, obviously what we were just discussing. Is there a motion to move petition 25P 1648 to the executive committee for inclusion on the county board agenda? Okay, I'll ask it a second time. Is there a motion to move petition?
Oh,
Go
Are
ahead.
you looking for a motion? I move. Or, no? Oh, okay, all right.
If I don't get a first and a second, then it'll die. And then, okay, so, all right, so you're removing your motion. Okay, I'll ask again, is there a motion to move petition 25P 1648 to the executive committee for inclusion on the county board agenda? I hear no motions, no seconds, so it dies. Okay, thank you, Alice. Thank you. I know it's a long way to get around that, but I think it's the legal way to do it, I believe. I think. I'll get yelled at later on if it's not how I did it. But anyways, we have no petitions coming from.
Do we want to discuss future minor amendments? Should we do that? How we want to handle future minor amendments? Can that be a discussion point right now?
Well, we can discuss, but we can't vote on it, but.
Right, so
okay.
maybe in the future, minor amendments are written in the report. You know, and if the committee and then the county board have questions, they can be addressed after they're given in the report. So you don't have to bring a petition.
Well, and I guess the only reason I brought the
Right,
petition today
yes.
is I didn't know which way we're
transparency.
heading.
Yep.
And
Right. yeah.
if you guys did not feel I should have this authority, then I would have asked you to move it to the hearing officer.
And since we all seem to feel Alice should have
Right.
the authority, maybe it's just a portion in the report next time, just talking, right, under discussion.
Right.
And I'll be issuing a formal determination, so I can include those determinations with my reports to keep the board informed of
Sure.
what's taking place.
Yep. I like
I
I
think the
said,
judgment sounded good. Reasoning was
Yeah.
logical. Everybody seemed on board. So.
I think we need to show transparency, obviously, of course. We don't want to leave the public out on any things that is major that would affect them. This is just paperwork. It's just,
And if I do have something come up where I am
Right.
looking for direction, I will follow the same format and bring it to you guys and let the county make that decision.
any comments from the
You know, I think Charlie just brought up a good point that, you know, the only thing that might help, just for transparency's sake and coverage for you, Alice, is that, you know, and again, this is great conversation, is do we want those minor changes going to committee and through the board, not necessarily just for protection? You know, and again, not, you know, it might slow down the process, but again, this is just for conversation. I'm not saying that you don't have the authority to make those changes, but do we want them to run through the board process anyway to protect the county, to protect you and your office?
And I think that would be the wise way to go initially, with these projects being controversial.
Mhm.
I think it could become a sticking point.
Mhm.
So I have no problem following the same format where if they're bringing it in, I bring the petition to the committee and let the committee decide whether it's a minor or amendment, or a minor or a major.
Specific.
And then if it's a major, they would send it on to the hearing officer. If it's a minor, they send it back to me.
And I think that helps from the transparency aspect, like Jeremy was just saying, but also it could be just like the treasurer's report too, where it's being approved, the administrator of zoning's report, where you outline what the minor approvals
Gotcha.
were.
Gotcha. So I would submit my determination and let the committee.
Because then the the community, the county board, everybody's aware of what it is that we're doing in making those changes and amendments.
Okay, I'm totally agreeable to that.
Well, so the process, help me understand the process, just a little bit, it's going to go differently than today, whereas we're going to get away from a failed motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that just sounded weird how we
It
did
did.
it.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure that builds
Then you'll have a
that
positive motion
transparency.
where it's going to be, we're approving the
Yeah.
report of the zoning administrator. with
And
these
that's, and
amendments.
that's included in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know
Like
how
that.
to discuss it and vote, get a vote from everybody without, you know, and letting it
Right.
die, you know,
Right.
getting everyone's opinion without, you know, having them vote with something, you know, so, anyway, that was
Yeah, I
my
mean, and
bad.
at this stage, we didn't need it to move further.
Right,
So.
right. But I wanted to make sure everyone was on board because there was some discussion, some questions that they had. And I couldn't read their minds where they were standing either. So I thought, anyway, it's my 2 cents. Okay, all right. All right, so moving on, there's no petitions coming from the hearing officer, no petitions going to the planning commissions, no petitions coming from the planning commissions. There's no unfinished business, no new business. Man, just going through this, no executive sessions. Is there a motion to adjourn? First by Ally, seconded by Dean Frio. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.